So once we have established our theoretical managerial contribution, we start to do a literature review in order to find the variables, the relevant variables for the phenomenon, in our case technology adoption, which are affective, social and cognitive factors. To do that, we do first of all a literature review, as we have seen for the smart homes. This was an example, but you have to do that for your research. You can combine it with a kind of qualitative research. Above all, if few is known, if there's few research, like in the case of disruptive technologies. That is why we did different qualitative research. For example, here for the smart connected objects, we did 2 focus groups with 10 people in order to make emerge the concepts. And you can see the words that appeared is practical, useful, easy for perceived usefulness and ease of use. Information sharing, privacy issues, social recognition and well-being. So this gives us an indicator about what we are asked an open question. How do you perceive, what are the benefits and risks of IoT-based smart connected objects? And then the people freely talked about the phenomenon. And we found actually these 5 main concepts, which we then compared with the literature. And we will see later that actually these are important concepts which are already formalized in some theories. Here's another example about our recent research about service robots, where we actually asked the same question. What are the perceived benefits and risks of service home robots? And you can see we found actually very similar concepts. And so with the words, we recorded with a video the words, the statements. Then we used R, latent Dirichlet allocation model, to make text mining. And this clustered us the words into different topics or concepts. Clearly we find comfort, ease of use. We found efficiency, competence and reliability, empathy, assistance and support for household chores as benefits on the one side. And on the other side we found the fear factors, the risks like loss of control, loss of autonomy, physical harm, malfunction and privacy concerns. So exactly the same concepts we have already seen in the statistics about the resistance factors of customers. So this shows you that we can combine actually literature. So with a qualitative approach, which you can see here, because now we know that these are factors which are fully integrated in existing technology acceptance theories and models. That is why this brings me actually to a theory, because when developing a model, a conceptual model, it's important to find a good theory, which is in our case the TAM and UTIoT. Because this theory is most commonly used in literature to study technology adoption phenomena. It is known for its strong psychometric properties and because it shows empirical relationships which are confirmed between adoption and acceptance of the theories, which have a good predictive capacity. It can be easily adapted to different contexts and technologies and easily enhanced with cognitive, social and affective variables. And in terms of contributions, it has not been used a lot in the context of smart technologies. So let's have a short overlook about the 2 main theories. First of all, there's the technology acceptance model, the basic TAM, developed in 1989 in the context of computer, PC acceptance. It is based on a theory, behavior theory of recent actions, but above all, it shows actually that there are 2 basic variables: the benefits, perceived usefulness, the extent to which the use of a technology will improve user performance, and perceived ease of use, so ergonomy, the extent to which using a technology is easy and effortless. These are the basic variables which actually are now still relevant, but today we know that these 2 variables are not enough to explain technology adoption. But at the time, 40 years ago, they were sufficient to explain the attitudes towards using a technology and above all, to explain the dependent variable, which is the behavioral intention to use the technology, and subsequently the actual use of the technology. But as we are almost 50 years later, the TEM evolved and was adopted to the different technologies and improved through TEM 2 and above all to the unified theory of acceptance and use of technology, which is the UT-AUT 1 and 2, which we'll see in detail in some instance, because they take into account other more recent variables due to the changing technology context. So let's have a look to the UT-AUT 1. It was developed in the organizational context. In other words, how employees accept or adopt technologies in the organizational concept. There's first of all performance expectancy, which is close to perceived ease of use in the TEM model, which is actually the perception of users of a new technology and how it improves their performance, the job performance. So close to perceived usefulness. There's the effort expectancy, which is close to ease of use. The perception of users that using a new technology will not require significant effort. So ease of use and complexity of the innovation, which are taken into account. There's a social influence, because we know that technologies are adopted also due to social pressure, which is the social image that refers to the degree to which the use of a technology improves the user's social status within a social group. So we know that social influences also influence technology adoption. Facilitating conditions, which is the perception that the users have the appropriate knowledge and resources to be able to use the technology. For example, backward compatibility of technologies increases facilitating conditions. Here's the model. You can see the antecedents on the left side impact behavior intention to use and subsequently use behavior. And we have some moderators, that is variables that might amplify or reduce the impact of the variables, such as gender, age, user experience, and voluntariness of use. So this is the model of Venkatesh and colleagues, 2003. It has been furthermore developed to the B2C context, to the end user context, and how they accept technologies. So the UT-AUT was enhanced through hedonic motivation, because we know that technologies represent also fun and pleasure coming from the technology. The price value, which is the cognitive trade-off of consumers between perceived benefits and innovation and the monetary cost of using them. And habits, the extent to which consumers tend to adopt automatic behaviors due to learning effects when they use technologies repeatedly and automatically. And here's the model. So it's like the UT-AUT 1, but enhanced through hedonic motivation, price value, and habits. And again, we have the moderator variables that might amplify or decrease the impact, namely age, gender, and user experience. And we can expect that the older peoples are, the less open they are to technology acceptance. So the antecedents should have a lower impact on intention to use than for younger people. Or the experience, the more we have experiences with technologies, for example, smart homes, the more the technology acceptance should be enhanced through the antecedents, whereas the less we have experience, the lower should be the impact. So the advantage of this UT-AUT 1 and 2 is it's like a Lego system. You can then add bricks or theories of variables as you wish. That's the advantage. You have a basic theory which you have to find in your research, and then you have to contextualize it, adapt it to your research context. And this is what we did actually for all this research about disruptive technologies. So we extended the UT-AUT with under-investigated variables coming from different theories, as we have already seen, transformative well-being through the regulatory focus theory and the user gratification theory to take into account well-being and hedonism, the trust theory to take into account reliability and functionality, the perceived risk theory to take into account loss of control, autonomy, and physical danger, the privacy concerns to take into account privacy issues, and service quality, self-qual theory to take into account reliability, empathy, responsiveness, competence, and tangibles of the technologies when they produce service, for example, in the case of service robots, autonomous vehicles, or smart cities. So the regulatory focus theory is based on the idea that there are two types of goals when deciding to purchase or to adopt new technologies. Typically, like in UT/AUT, utilities either views performance, security, and protection. So we have utilitarian goals. And affective goals such as hedonism, happiness, and well-being, which are not conceptualized in the UT/AUT. That is why we enhanced the UT/AUT with this affective dimension. We start from the basic UT/AUT model, so performance expectancy, effort expectancy, and facilitating conditions, formulate our hypotheses, which are all justified by theory. You can see here, for example, the positive link between perceived ease of use or effort expectancy and facilitating condition is proven by Venkatesh in the UT/AUT model. It impacts positively perceived utilities or performance expectancy, which subsequently impact behavior intention to use. So we have our first group of hypotheses based on UT/AUT theory. And it's justified by the theory. And that's important. You have to always justify your hypotheses, not to formulate them intuitively, but you have to formulate them based on literature. Then we enhance our model with affective factors, so theories of well-being, transformative theories of well-being. Well-being is conceptualized as a personal state related to different factors: physical well-being, psychological well-being, health, social well-being, economic well-being, pleasure, self-actualization, harmony, happiness, medical conditions. So it's a very broad concept, which has been conceptualized in economy for a while. So we also use it in our research, and for us it's more the psychological and the physical well-being, but also economic well-being due to the price. And we conceptualize based on the literature the following hypothesis: that well-being, the higher the well-being coming from the technology, the higher should be also the behavior intention to use the technology. This is based again on literature. Then we hypothesize another cognitive goal, that performance expectancy, the more the technology increases my performance and my utilities, the higher should be also my subjective well-being. So hypothesis 3 is based on literature where we consider that performance expectancy positively impact subjective well-being. Then we introduce trust theory, so the belief that the technology is reliable, credible, and functional without error, which should impact positively well-being, because the more we trust, the less we perceive psychological risks, and the higher should be the psychological well-being. And trust should also impact positively behavioral intention to use, which is also conceptualized in the literature. We have the social factors, social status that the technology gives us within our social groups, prestige, social integration, and it's also shown in literature that social value impacts positively behavior intention to use, but also impacts positively psychological well-being of self-actualization and of social recognition. So we have another pair of hypotheses based on social values, social recognition theory, and transformative theories based on well-being. We enhance our model with service quality theories around self-qual, which integrates actually tangible elements, physical elements of the service provider, the service robot or the chatbot or the autonomous car, the assurance, the skills, competences of the provider, the responsiveness, the willingness to deliver fast service, empathy, the willingness to provide customer care and individualized attention, and reliability, the willingness to deliver efficient, consistent, credible service. These 5 dimensions impact perceived value and should also impact the intention to use one of these disruptive technologies, which could be a robot, a chatbot, autonomous car, or a smart home. So we see self-qual should impact utilitarian performance expectancy, which subsequently impacts behavior intention to use. We integrate risk theories, privacy concerns, the degree of the concern about information collection, use, and flow of AI collected data and personalization, which should negatively impact actually the technology trust. So the higher the privacy concerns about the data flow and collection, the lower the technology trust, which is actually conceptualized also by the literature. And we introduce perceived risk of technology, which are the user's perception of the limited ability to manage, control, and use technology safely due to errors, intimidation, loss of control. And clearly, technology risk should actually impact negatively, as we can see here, technology trust, which is conceptualized in the literature. On the other hand, technology security, which is the ability to produce a reliability service and reduce errors, should positively impact technology trust. And we have the ethical risks or concerns, which are the conflicts with the society's moral principles that arise as a result of decision or behavior, which is a sense of right and wrong that transcends from legal determinants. Ethical risks of AI are clearly dehumanization, isolation, technology risks, loss of human skills due to the technology dependence, and destructive robots. And these ethical risks should negatively impact technology trust, which is again conceptualized and shown in the literature. We have some moderators, so innovativeness, which is the degree of openness to innovations, and quantified self is a personality trait of self-monitoring, favoring actually the usage of IoT and technology-related products. And we have actually a cultural dimension. Culture is a belief system that shapes people's thought patterns and play an important role in influencing their behaviors. Here we introduce uncertainty avoidance, which is actually the predisposition of the users to avoid uncertainty, to use new technologies. So, in other words, the higher the uncertainty avoidance, the more strong should be the impact of privacy concerns on technology trust. On the other hand, the lower the uncertainty avoidance, the lower should be also the impact of privacy concerns on technology trust. For example, here in Hofstede's framework about culture, we see that countries like China have low uncertainty avoidance, whereas Western cultures have high degrees of uncertainty avoidance. So we expect that in Eastern civilizations, uncertainty avoidance should be less impactful than in Western civilizations. And that's the same for trust. So uncertainty avoidance should increase the impact of trust on well-being, whereas the impact should be lower in countries like China. So here we have developed our hypotheses. They are then summarized in conceptual frameworks, which I don't detail anymore because we have seen the hypothesis in detail. But here is, for example, the model for acceptance of connected objects. You see actually the UT technology benefits in the middle. You see the social recognition well-being on the left side, which should impact the benefits intention to use. For the smart home, you see actually the UT framework in the above, higher part of the model, impacting positively well-being. And you have the technology risk and trust framework in the lower part of the model, impacting negatively trust and subsequently well-being and intention to use. This is our second model because we have done 2 studies about smart home acceptance. You have in the higher part the UT model impacting behavioral intention to use and well-being, and you have in the lower part the model about hedonic motivation and the enhancement of the UT, the technology risk and privacy concerns and trust conceptual framework impacting respectively negatively and positively subjective well-being. and subsequently intention to use. And in this study, we really measure real usage behavior. Here's the model for autonomous vehicles. Again, you see in the upper part the UT model impacting positively well-being and performance expectancy. And you have the trust risk conceptual framework in the lower part, impacting negatively trust and subsequently well-being and intention to use. You have a moderator of user innovativeness, which shows actually the more open customers are to innovation, the more the impact of performance expectancy on behavior intention to use should be amplified, and vice versa. Here's the model for acceptance of chatbots, where we have service quality, the different dimensions, reliability, competence, impacting positively the perceived usefulness and trust, subsequently intention to use. The model for service robots, here again UT in the upper part, with effort expectancy, social influence, and so facilitating conditions on performance expectancy. We have the self-qual framework with tangibles, assurance, responsiveness, empathy, and reliability, impacting positively performance expectancy and trust. And we have the risk conceptual model with privacy concerns, technology risk, and ethical concerns, impacting negatively trust. And last but not least, the model for delivery drones, UT benefits in the upper part, impacting positively well-being. The physical risks, technology risk, and privacy concerns impacting negatively well-being and subsequently behavior intention to use. And so, in summary, you have to show in the section literature review development of a conceptual model, which are the main concepts. Then you can do that with a literature review. You can do that with combined with qualitative research. Today we have good algorithms of text mining making you emerge the main topics, the main variables. Then you have to conceptualize the links like in a Lego model and find the theories that you can break together, can link together in order to make a coherent vision about the antecedents and consequences of the technology or of the use of the technologies. These hypotheses, you justify them based on the literature, and you finish your chapter of the conceptual model with a figure summarizing actually the different links of your conceptual model.